Anyway, so ready to go?
Yeah. I might be a little bouncy for a while.
Welcome to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. We are here to podcast about anything and everything Star Wars with you. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR.KyleJohansson.us. That's RABR.KyleJohansson.us. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at RABR.KyleJohansson.us. And now, it's time to talk Star Wars. I am Kyle John Johansson, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, streaming people that aren't even watching. Yay.
Woo, yeah. I'm outside. He's inside.
That's all right.
Two different towns. Woohoo. I'm
exciting.
Watering Colton's project. Neighbor gave us some grass seed, and he's out working with his,
Fun.
father, his bio father.
Fun.
The sperm donor.
Yeah. So today we're reviewing Star Wars New Hope. Yes.
The first one us old fogies saw.
Yeah. So didn't realize what was going on, right? So for you, when was the first time you saw it? Did you see it in the theater, or did you see it on like a VHS? Or?
Theater.
You saw it in the theater?
Dad liked them, yeah. Mom wouldn't go, but he took us boys.
Did you go like the first time, or did you go like when they redid them or something?
First time.
Yeah.
76, right?
77. Yeah, I didn't. So it was weird, Do you remember I was in Africa for a while?
Yeah.
And I was in Africa when they first came out.
Oh wow.
And someone, remember how you saw on the old MASH TV show where they would get bootleg movies and stuff and watch? So because the place my parents worked at was an American cooperative school, which was associated with, that military stuff sometimes and whatever, they got a bootleg copy of Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
And about 10 of us watched it in the school library.
Oh, that's a cool story, Kyle.
We got a copy of it. They got a copy of it, and then had to pass it on to someone else or whatever. But I don't really. I remember some of it. Just disclosure. I had watched Star Trek before, on TV.
I didn't really go there.
So Star Trek was first, and it was always first. And then the Star Wars thing was totally different, and it kind of changed everything too. So anyway, thought that I would put that in there. So I don't have a lot of news today, but I thought we'd kind of look at some information about the planet Tatooine, since
it's
time for the news. Since that's where majority of our Skywalker stuff is on Tatooine. I think the Ray.
That's even where it ends.
Exactly. She puts the lightsabers in the ground or whatever. Yes. So Ray was from Batu or something like that. It's the name of the planet there. It was also a sand planet too, but she came back and put the lightsabers in the ground right outside the dwelling, right?
Yeah.
the Skywalker Ranch, so to say. So Tatooine is a sparsely inhabited desert planet located in the galaxy's outer rim. It's part of a binary star system, meaning there's two stars. Correct. And the lacking of water caused trouble for sustaining lots of a big population on the planet. So it was never really populated that much. They used what they call moisture farms, which is what Luke's dad was doing, or Luke's parents were doing. They were in a moisture evaporation farm, is what they were. So they were collecting water and selling it.
Would that been mainly at night? They were doing their main collecting because of when it gets
part
cool
of it. Part of it. I mean, it would condense out of the air a little bit more, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
But it's.
I understand that.
But I mean, you know how it.
Like what a dehumidifier does.
Somewhat, yes, somewhat. So they would do something like that. You remember in the Book of Boba Fett, we had the watermonger guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was probably selling water that someone like Luke's family was collecting.
Okay.
Or had his own farm that he was doing it on. Anyway, okay. The planet also had little vegetation. It was the home world of the native Jawa and Tuscan species. Of course, Anakin and Luke Skywalker were both on the planet. There was a huge explosion of population when there was thought to be mining materials they can mine on the planet.
Yeah.
But it comes to find out there was some weird metallurgical properties to the stuff they were mining, which made it unusable. So all the mining firms pretty much left, and they left behind a lot of equipment. And that's where the sand crawlers that the Jawas use, that was some sort of mining equipment at one time. Because the Jawas are kind of, they scavenge whatever they want.
Those big things.
Those big sand crawlers. So the planet became a haven for smugglers and criminal activity, which also drew the Hutt clan and Jabba to the planet to kind of, control the criminal activity, I guess you could say. Numerous crime syndicates. Eventually, Boba Fett returned and took over Jabba's territory, and pushed the Pike Syndicate out. Tatooine was very the galaxy at large didn't really pay attention to it, right? So, remember in the scene, I think it's in this movie we watched today, New Hope. R2 and C3PO exit and get in an escape pod and land on the planet. That's what put Tatooine on the Galactic Republic's radar. They then established a presence on the planet, kind of monitoring it and whatever for everything from that point on. Like I said, it's located in the outer rim.
So it was good for that. So it was good for that town then.
I mean, it brought more people.
Los Isles or whatever it is.
Yeah, Mos Eisley.
Mos Eisley.
Yeah, Mos Eisley spaceport.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they probably had quite a bit of the business from smugglers and criminals and whatever coming in and out and stuff, but So, strangely enough, and we never really see it, but Tatooine has 3 moons also. Region of the galaxy removed from its 3 moons. Tatooine was once like we saw in Boba Fett. It was once covered in oceans and rainforest, but for some unknown reason, global warming, who knows what, it became a desert planet. The only small parts of the northern hemisphere could sustain life. Because it was too hot, so hot. Let's see. Rain was incredibly rare. It came maybe once a year, once a decade, or once a century sometimes. And when rain came, some plants were actually able to grow. The inhabiting the planet were many native species, including the crate dragon, shifting sands. Yep, that's the one that Din Djarin battled, the crate dragon, where he blew it up or whatever. There's also Bantha and Eope, which I think we talked about. Eope is the kind of, I don't know, animal that Obi-Wan Kenobi rides in the trailer and stuff. There's dewbacks, rontos, swamp rats, mastiffs, and scurriers. Cities were frequent. There was frequent sandstorms, which just a huge gust of wind that sandblasted everything when it was when it was going around. Early history, blah blah blah. Java's we read that. Scum and villainy. During the period of Queen. Okay, whatever. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else good on here. Yep, it talks about Din Djarin, Resistance era. All right, wait. Yeah, we don't. There's not much else here. There's a lot of information in this article about the different things that happened there. As you said, Tatooine had 2 large cities, or port cities that travelers could land from, off world could land on. There was Mos Espa and Mos Eisley. Both of them were related to criminals and stuff. Mos Espa's were Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett and everything. All that is Mos Espa. Mos Eisley is the port where Han Solo was and all that stuff. And in this movie, we're getting ready to see or review.
Water.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So that's the majority of it. It says here that originally it appeared in New Hope, blah blah blah, Return of the Jedi, 3 films of the prequel. It wasn't actually named in New Hope yet. They didn't have a name for it. George Lucas called it Utopia.
Was that the working name then?
Yeah, that's the name that he called it first, Utopia. But in the film's first draft, the 4th draft of the script or whatever you want to call it, they called it Tatooine. A French spelling of Tunisia,
Tunisia?
which is where they were filming. A lot of the desert scenes was in Tunisia.
Okay.
Tunisia, Death. Some of it was done in Death Valley in California and Yuma, Arizona, also. So Tatooine comes from all those places. So that's kind of what we've got for Tatooine. Let's in the news. What do you think? The news. All right, so we need your feedback, right, Scott? We need everybody to participate. We're on
indifferent.
We're now doing live streaming to YouTube, so that gives you the opportunity to interact with us live while we're doing this podcast. There is a chat section there that you can actually, they can actually chat with us live through a chat thing on the YouTube site. So they could ask questions while we're talking about stuff if they really want to. And of course, YouTube, each video has a section where you can comment. We have a form you can fill out on our website for feedback. We have questions of the week, and they allow comments as well. And we have a email address, feedback@kylesransom.us. You can send us your feedback there. And of course, we're on social media too, so Twitter and
we're very social.
very social, yeah, not really. So yeah, we need your help giving us feedback and making this more interesting.
Blow up.
Yeah. Yeah, so feedback. All right, and let's do this. Are you planning your next trip to Tatooine? Well, come on down to Pelly's Mod and Repair Shop, where our droids will spruce up your wagon. We'll service just about anything from Starfighter Corellian Y1300 freighter to a Vespa hovering scooter. If we don't have the part, we can get it. If you qualify for our special program, we'll provide you with any part our Jawas can get. Well, that's right. Come on down to Pelly's Mod and Repair Shop, where we can store fuel and upgrade your vessel. We're located at Tatooine's Mos Eisley Spaceport, Hangar 35. Yeah.
So what's the YouTube thing? I mean, if I send my wife to it, where'd she go?
It's the same page that all the other videos are on. I mean, that's a good question.
I mean, if she looks up on YouTube, Rebel Alliance Briefing Room, will it be under that? Or will it be under Super Duper?
No, Rebel Alliance Briefing Room is where she should go.
Yeah, honey, go find us. We're live. Rebel Alliance Briefing Room. YouTube.
Streaming live.
We're streaming live. Make a comment like 4 eyes, or just so we know that it works.
4 eyes? What? Jeez. Let's do a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Danger. You are about to be spoiled. This is your spoiler alert. We're about to talk candidly and explicitly about some TV shows or movies. If you have not watched them, please fast forward to the appropriate section. You will not be warned again because you will be spoiled. Okay. Doggy. Doggy. Yay.
What are you whining about? You're fine.
Right.
Oh my God.
So we're back again, and Scott's got a dog attacking him.
It's too late to stop out for keeping me up all night.
Not in a bad way, I guess. All right, so let's go. Star Wars was the original movie name. It wasn't until they, repackaged and made it in HD and stuff like that before they actually added the name New Hope to it. Because that's when they figured they were gonna do the prequels and stuff. So they figured they needed a name for it, not just call it Star Wars. Since
so on your copy of the film, did you have a soundtrack? I mean, was it a good soundtrack?
Yeah, I mean,
did you get the feel of after the scroll of? I mean, I know when I saw it with Dad, it was just like, whoa. The music hit, and it was like John Williams. He hit it out of the park.
Yeah, we just, I mean, you got to think about it. It's you remember when we were going to school in the classroom when the teacher would bring in a projector with the real film and stuff,
Yeah.
The sound would come out of a speaker out of the projector, right?
Oh.
So it wasn't that great a sound. It was okay, but it wasn't that great.
Okay.
So it was just like that. It was, like I said, it was a bootleg copy, so it wasn't like an official big canister film thing or whatever. And it looked like the normal film. It wasn't didn't look like a shaky cam video or whatever like we see sometimes when someone posts a video of something or whatever. But yeah. So
I remember that after I have it on my screen right now. A long time ago in a galaxy far away, and then kaboom.
Yeah,
John Williams hits it out of the park.
He does a good job, and he's written the music for most of the movies. I think the last set of movies, the end of the Skywalker saga, there was someone else that was involved too, but he wrote most of those too. He wrote almost everything, and he's just been a major part of the film because his music kind of brings it. You got the music that Darth Vader, whenever you see him, it's dun, 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 dun. All that, all those sounds and all that stuff is John Williams, and just think about that too. So, they used a whole orchestra to record all that stuff, right? Yeah. And that stuff like that had been done before, but not in a huge movie production such as this. It had been done in other movies and whatever, but not like a science fiction movie. It was, there wasn't that many science fiction movies out in the first place in 1977.
That's true.
So this movie was originally released on May 25th, 1977. The special edition came out on January 31st, 1997. And both of those, the original release was 121 minutes long. The special edition, they added 4 more minutes. It was 125 minutes long. And surprisingly, if you remember us talking about how much it cost or the budget was for the prequel movies, those were like 100 million, whatever. The budget for Star Wars was only $11 million.
Wow.
And just as a sideline, the timeline in Star Wars movies, this is obviously zero time. So this is zero Battle of Yavin or zero after the Battle of Yavin, because this movie is the Battle of Yavin 4, where they blow up the Death Star. Ooh, spoiler! Jump to the end. So yeah, 1977.
Spoiler.
It was always had the episode 4 thing. They added the episode 4 when they did the special edition. First part of the trilogy. The film was set 19 years after the formation of the Galactic Empire, which we saw in Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yes.
So 19 years have gone since then. Construction was finishing on the Death Star. Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, a former farmer, Luke Skywalker, meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's lived in seclusion on the desert planet for years. When Luke's home is burnt and his aunt and uncle are killed, Obi-Wan begins Luke's Jedi training as they go along. They meet Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2, blah blah blah. It's inspired by films like Flash Gordon and samurai films like Akira.
I saw Flash Gordon.
Yeah, Flash Gordon was a good. That was on for a series for a while, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah, TV, black and white.
And it says also a series called The Hero of a Thousand Faces, and of course Frank Herbert's Dune books. Lucas began his work on Star Wars in 1974. He came up with the idea in 1973 sometime when he was finishing up his movie American Graffiti. He wrote another movie that was called something else, and it eventually became called Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Originally it was called something else. I can't remember what it was called at this time.
Marlon Brando, Martin Sheen.
Yeah, it was called American Zoetrope. And they eventually, when they sold it, and all the fancy people took in, and Universal bought it, it got renamed to Apocalypse Now. Anyway, it was the most influential film of the time. Budget of, like I said, 11 million. The film became one of the most successful of all time, earning 215 million in the United States and 337 million overseas. And that's just in that year, right? So it's not overall. That's just that year.
It's what set him up to do all the rest of them.
Yeah, he made the money that he could afford to make the rest of them, basically. And didn't have to worry about a budget, right? Because almost the rest of them were a lot more budgeted. A lot more money, and they spent the time to actually do more effects and stuff.
I think what he did with this the $11 million he put into this, the New Hope, he did it right, and it supported a story throughout the rest of them.
Yep, exactly. And he was hoping so big that it would do well, because he wanted to make more of them, and everything hinged on this movie, and it was such a success that it, like you said, set him up for life to be able to make these. There was also a DVD release in 2004, which had more CGI effects added. They recreated a few scenes also, meaning they actually went to a studio and refilmed a couple things.
Yeah, I'm on Entertainment Tonight. That actually.
Yeah, and it was re-released again on Blu-ray in 2011. And it has been preserved in the National Film Registry at the Library of Congress in 1989. And I think I saw recently Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi are now in there too. That was like within the last year or so, I think, are in the National Archives too. Um, so yeah, so that's the kind of the background of it. The where everything started from. Uh, let's see. All right, so the next thing is the opening crawl of. We'll read the opening crawl. How about that? I gotta make sure something's set though. Hold on. Okay, that's good. All right, so let's start opening crawl. It's the period of Civil War. Rebel spaceships striking from the hidden base uh, have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire during the battle. Rebel spies managed to steal a secret plans of the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that save her and her people and restore freedom to the galaxy. Dun-dun-dun. Yeah. That's the opening crawl there. And, get right into the movie. It's, like I said, 19 years after Revenge of the Sith. And lady, that ship that they mentioned that she's on is called the Tentative 4. Yeah, 4. And like I said, she's got the stolen plans that we saw them steal in the movie Rogue One.
Yeah, that I was just getting ready. Hey, Maggie, not the left eye. I was just getting ready to say, it's so weird, knowing the end and knowing the or supposed beginning, and then all those years later, it's like come full circle, have we?
Yeah, it's weird watching it when like you said, when you know everything that's going to happen and has happened. And when you, like you said, when we first saw it, we didn't know all this backstory or any of it.
It was all brand new, and all the effects were like, what? How'd they do that?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so she's on this Tanative 5, and they're intercepted by an Imperial class Star Destroyer.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
It's called the Devastator is the name of the ship. And they're both basically over the planet of Tatooine. Stormtroopers managed to board the ship after just defeating a small number of guards. Darth Vader arrives and is outraged and questions the captain and does his strangle thing and strangles him. And hiding somewhere on the ship is Princess Leia, but she's spotted by stormtroopers.
He shoots at the stormtroopers, and then she turns and runs, and then they stun her.
Exactly, and however, before being detained, Leia was able to record a holographic message through R2D2, and assign the droid the responsibility of taking the message to a Jedi in hiding on Tatooine. That's apparently where she was headed in the first place, was to deliver this message to him. Vader orders a message to be sent to the Imperial Senate, informing them that the ship was destroyed with everyone on board. R2D2 and C3PO escape in an escape pod and land on the planet below. There, we get some scenes where they're walking around, and C3PO is is complaining that R2 wants to go one way and he wants to go the other way.
I'm going this way. You're going that way.
And he kicks. He kicks him at one point. Remember? Clunk.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're picked up by Jawa traders, and later bought by Owen Lars and his nephew Luke Skywalker. As they stop by and they need some droids for their evaporation farm, so they're looking for some. And if you remember, they originally bought the R4 unit, and it had some. It had like a motivator go out or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought at one time that R2 made that happen.
Could be. I doubt it though, but it could be. I mean, you have to think about the Jawas. They were scavengers to start with, so they
were shifty.
Interesting. Nope. Let's see. Traders. Blah blah. Eventually, R2 sneaks out in the middle of the night. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he's obviously going after Obi-Wan Kenobi. Luke searches the desert for him. So he and C-3PO eventually find him in, there was like some rocky, hilly area. But they're attacked by sand people, or as we know them as Tusken Raiders. One of them raises the thing above his head and scares Luke. Remember, it's like he gets scared. And they attack them, and Luke gets knocked out. And R2D2 gets zapped at one point and falls over or something, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan comes to the rescue. He hears them and whatever, and he scares off the Tuskens.
He does a higher pitch, or does that yell, the Tusken, or whatever. He screams at him.
Exactly.
And they run off.
Yeah, they run off because they're afraid of him because he's like some sort of wizard or something to them. And Obi-Wan takes Luke to his home.
I like when he'll be he bends down and fixes Luke. Jedi healing trick or whatever. And looks over and there's R2 in the rocks and goes, come here, little one. It's okay. You'll be fine. And that's the first time that Obi-Wan is de-hooded. But we see who Obi-Wan is.
Yeah, and so this thing kind of jumps around that I've got here, but it says Obi-Wan, while they're talking in Obi-Wan's little, seclusion, he gives Luke his father's lightsaber. And Obi-Wan recalls his friendship with Luke's father, blah, blah, blah. And he tells him that his father was killed and betrayed by a Jedi named Darth Vader. And this is where we see
so when you originally watching the film, you're thinking, oh, that's two different people, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you don't know the difference between the two people. Yeah. I mean, we didn't really know it all until the prequels came, I guess, what was it? Empire. Return of the Jedi, or was it Empire? No, it was Empire, because Return of the Jedi it's when he comes back and he defeats Vader and the Ewoks and all that stuff. The Emperor gets thrown down the whatever shoot thing.
And now that I think about it, he used the same line that Obi-Wan used in this movie about endangering the mission.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so Luke's cleaning R2D2 and triggers the message. And Obi-Wan is like, "Hey, you need to come with me to Alderaan and help me out." But Luke refuses. Uh, and until he discovers that the traitors who found the droids were killed and thought it was sand people, although it was really stormtroopers searching for the droids. Realizing this, Luke hurries home to find his aunt and uncle brutally murdered by the same stormtroopers.
They were skeletons.
They were burnt skeletons. You can see the smoke coming off of them still.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sizzling. Not very good barbecue. No.
Get out of my head. Get out of my head. I was getting ready to barbecue.
Luke.
It was a tasty masterpiece.
Exactly. Luke returns to Obi-Wan and tells him that if he was there, Obi-Wan tells him that if he was there, he would have been killed also, and the droids would be in possession of the Empire, which means they would have had, whatever secret message. And at this time, we don't know that there's plans to the Death Star in R2D2. With nothing to keep Luke there, Obi-Wan and the two droids travel to Mos Eisley to find passage to Alderaan, in which we find out is the home planet of Princess Leia, the one who was in the hologram. For 17,000 credits, 2,000 credits in advance, and 15,000 upon arrival, they offer Han Solo the money to travel. If you remember,
Han?
Yeah, Han. I don't know. It's Han.
Come on. Princess Leia always called him Han.
True. Could be Han. I don't know. I've always called him Han Solo.
Both. You heard both in the movie, so I guess they didn't even know.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's Han with two, which would make 2 dots above the A.
Maybe like a Haagen-Dazs. What?
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I thought of that.
So you remember this scene where they're negotiating this is in the cantina.
Yeah.
And they've got all those weird characters, and that one guy tells Luke that he doesn't like him. He says, "I don't like you," and they have they have a fight.
And he doesn't like you either. Okay.
And that's when Obi-Wan comes in with a lightsaber, cuts off the guy's arm.
Yeah.
And they actually meet Chewbacca first, or Obi-Wan does, and talks to Chewbacca first. And he says, "My friend here, Chewbacca, is the first mate with this guy who can get us on a ship to Alderaan." So anyway, that's how that all happens, and we saw multiple different types of species of,
and
beings here too.
Yeah. Going back to the Jawas sandcrawler had a boxy on it. They have on Bad Batch on their ship. There's a boxy on them.
Yep. On the top.
Yeah. Crude asteroid.
Okay. So yeah, so they agree. What is it? Agree to meet at Hangar 94, right?
94. Yep.
And there's a brief scuffle with the Empire. And we see one of the added scenes to the actual movie is Han Solo talking to Jabba the Hutt in front of the Millennium Falcon.
And he steps on him.
Steps on him. That was a much later added scene. That wasn't a scene that was added to the first special. It might have been in the special edition, but I think it was more on the DVDs and stuff was when they added that.
I think it was on the Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah, it could be all the way back to that. Okay, yeah. So they're they get on the Millennium Falcon. Everybody gets on there, and there's a little battle as they leave or whatever.
Pew 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 pew.
And they find what? That's not right. So they make their way to Alderaan, and they find what seems to be an asteroid field.
Yeah, they come out light speed, and all of a sudden they got all this debris. I mean, crap.
Right, because a scene before we see Tarkin talking to Princess Leia, and she is not wanting to give up the rebel base or whatever. And he says, "Well, we're going to demonstrate the weapon, and we're gonna fire on whatever planet you tell us has the rebel base." And it comes to find out that the location she gives them is Tatooine, and that is too far away for them to try. So they blow up Alderaan instead because they're close to Alderaan. Boom!
Them double crossers.
She's like, "No!" Yeah, and that's I think that's when we first see Tarkin too, is during that scene. Tarkin was a big part of the Empire and everything, or the Empire, Galactic Republic, whatever you want to call it. He was one of the masterminds behind most of what they did. Obviously, he worked closely with the Emperor. Palpatine.
Yeah.
So yeah, they.
So would he be equal to Vader, or over Vader?
There's questions about that. So, in some scenes, you see Vader giving orders to the Grand Moffs sometimes, but they were a lot of times giving him orders. You saw a lot of scenes, where they're telling Vader that he's he's dying art or whatever. The Jedi are dying art or whatever. They're giving him orders and such. And from a military perspective, the Grand Moffs were the highest ranking you could get in the military. They reported directly to the Emperor. Of course, that's what Darth Vader did too. He was the right hand man to the Emperor, right? And he was supposedly supposed to be in charge of the army too. So, think of it as vice presidents, right? There's a lot of companies have multiple vice presidents. They all report to the CEO, right?
Sure.
So you got to think of them as like that. But you're right though. Tarkin would give him orders and such. So, So it's confusing because you know at this time there was no such thing as Admiral Thrawn that I'm always talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and that's only because they hadn't written the books yet, right? So he was around technically during the time, but if you remember a lot of this stuff, Thrawn would get orders from Vader and from um, the Emperor also, right? From Palpatine.
Correct.
Mostly from Palpatine, though. It was always one of those hologram things. He was
Yeah.
giving him orders and stuff. So, anyway, so the ship comes to the asteroid field that was once the planet, and they get sucked in by a tractor beam into the Death Star. They hide themselves in um, some of the smuggling, areas that Han would use, and they get dragged in, and then they sneak out. They ambush the scanning crew and disguise themselves as stormtroopers, and they try to figure out how to escape. Obi-Wan separates from the group so he can disable the tractor beam so they can leave.
Because he felt
R2D2
Vader were being pulled in.
Yeah. R2D2 connects to the network, with his little thing, and discovers Princess Leia is aboard the station also, and she's in Block AA23. So Luke convinces Han and Chewbacca to help rescue. And Luke promises them a huge reward, because she's a princess. She's going to pay lots of money to get free. And they agree, and they go to detention block AA23, claiming that Chewbacca is a prisoner being transferred. This is where R2D2 and C3PO are left behind in the room. So they can use R2 for his connections to the network. Luke's plan works flawlessly as they get to the cell block and break the princess out. Unfortunately, once they got there, they didn't have a plan after that. So, they got quickly surrounded by stormtroopers and pew, pew, pew. Hey, tough guy, jump in the garbage chute. Remember that?
Yeah. And the thing was there.
And the little weird snaky thing is in there. Yeah. We don't know what that is. Flawlessly.
In the transmission thingy. That when the walls start coming in.
Yep, and that's when they're contacting R2, and they're he's locked in a closet or something, right?
Them two droids, like Abbott and Costello.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's how they were originally thought to be. Just kind of comic relief and interestingness and all that stuff. Okay, so Chewbacca and Han also dive in. Unfortunately, the chute leads to a garbage compactor, and the snake thing is called a Dianga. Soon after landing, the creature pulls Luke under the surface, but releases him as he's scared away because the compactor starts to activate. So he's like, I'm out of here. I'm not getting squished. So they desperately call for C3PO over the comm link. Shut it down! Shut it down! Ah, we're dying! We're getting squished! Help me! Help me! They struggle to keep on top of the trash. Um,
Yeah.
And Chewbacca tries to unlock the door. There's a scene in there when they all first land. Remember when they shoot their blasters at it?
Yeah.
At the door.
And it goes,
and
ricochet.
It's magnetized or something like that. That's what they say. I don't remember what they call it. Magnetized.
Ion. Magnetization or something.
Yeah, something like that. And R2 manages to shut down the compactor just in time before they get crushed. And as they're celebrating, C3PO thinks that he was too late because he thinks the celebrating is them getting squished, right? I've been too late. They've already been killed or something weird. And he's able to, R2's able to open the door and everything so they can get out. They hurry back to the Millennium Falcon, hoping that Obi-Wan has successfully shut down the tractor beam. And we see that scene where Obi-Wan goes on that little narrow walkway or whatever, flipping the switches, and it makes those noises. And this escape thing where they're going to the Millennium Falcons, where Luke and Leia use the grappling hook thing and swing across the walk that area, where the ramps are down.
They have a gunfight, and he's trying to get the grappling thing, and he's getting ready to throw it right now, and he goes, I get it spun around. Oh no, we're surrounded.
I saw a thing about that. So I don't know if you've done this, Scott, but if you're doing it through Disney Plus, there's before you play it, you go down there and there's like extras and trailers and stuff. If you go into the extras, there's like 50 different things in there that are extras. There's deleted scenes and stuff like that. And there's one thing in there that I saw where that scene there where they're jumping across there with the grappling hook.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it looks a lot higher to us because of the digital effects and stuff, right? But it's like, I don't know, 6 feet in reality off the ground that they're jumping across. And they both refused stunt doubles when they did that actual thing. So that's actually Mark Hamill and her doing that actual stunt themselves. Carrie Fisher doing the stunt themselves. Luke actually grabs onto her.
I didn't even know it, but I just watched, I have it playing while we're doing, that she kissed him.
Yep.
When
right before they went across.
Platform. As I go, yeah. I was like, what? Hold on a second.
Yep. And if you look through the extras also, there's a an old TV commercial for Star Wars, and one of them they talk about the romance between Luke and Leia. Come to see the romance. And right, that's not, we know from later on that's kind of gross, right? Because they're brother and sister.
That would make a Yoda.
Maybe that's where Yoda came from. I don't know.
Oh
yeah.
Wrong am I?
Okay. And okay, so they find out that he's they encounter a bunch of stormtroopers, like we said, and they jump across the thing, and Han Solo goes one way and they go another way, and they finally meet up close to the what is that, the docking area on the ship that their Millennium Falcon's at. Yep. And we find out that Obi-Wan was destined to meet Darth Vader, and they start having a battle.
And the black sword so they can see it.
it leads them out to the blast doors and everything like that.
Yeah.
And they see this, and they don't really see him though until they get to the Millennium Falcon. That's when they're kind of watching, and we see stormtroopers.
The stormtroopers ran over and was watching the battle.
Yeah, the stormtroopers were too, and after a short duel, Obi-Wan sacrifices himself, and this is where we get that quote where, "You could strike me down now, but I'll be stronger, more powerful than you ever imagined," or something like that. Yeah. And he, we see when he gets struck that his robe kind of just goes limp. There's no real body there, right? It just kind of goes limp.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? What's going on there? It must be a wizard force thing, right?
Yeah.
He becomes one with the Force, allowing Luke and the others to escape. And this is where we see the scene where Luke's like, "No," and he starts firing and shooting. Shoo, shoo, shoo. He's mad, and he's like,
he figures out that it's when he grows up, he had to become something.
Yeah. Basically, realizes that he's on his own, and
oh, there he is, pouting on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, he's crying. I'm so sad.
Leia just put a blanket on him, and so sorry.
And that's the scene where Chewbacca and R2D2 were playing the chess too, right?
Yeah, that.
And C-3PO says, "I suggest you let the Wookiee win."
Archie goes.
They of course had to fight a bunch of fighters to get away as well, and they meet the Rebel Alliance on Yavin 4, and the information in R2D2 is turned over to General Donoda, and they come up with the plans on how to attack the Death Star, and we see like what our podcast is named after. We see the Rebel Alliance briefing room.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're given the briefing, and who's going to volunteer for this and that, and so on and so on, and Han Solo says he's leaving after he's gotten his reward.
That's all the stuff loaded on the.
Him and Chewbacca are packing up and leaving, and Luke is preparing to take his fighter. We see him talk to his friend Biggs for a little bit. Hey, you're the best womp rat shooter in all of Tatooine, or something silly like that is said, and they all do that, and they load up and start their attack sequence towards the Death Star, and of course we see a lot of TIE fighters, pew pew, and all that stuff going on. There's a big battle, and their objective is to go down this trench. So we start seeing them going down trenches, and some of them get shot. Oh, I can't hold on any longer. They blow up, kind of thing, and unfortunately, as they're going down this path, it ends up Luke is the only one left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he looks like he's got a clear path, and all of a sudden another TIE fighter shows up with two other ones that are accompanying it, and we find out it's Darth Vader. He says, "I got this one," and he fights off the remaining that are left with Luke, and it's only him and Luke, and Darth Vader waves off his accompanying team, and he takes them on himself. This is where we see Luke flips up his navigation system, and everybody's worried. Oh my gosh, Luke, why'd you turn your thing off? Hey, Luke, what are you doing? Are you not going to fire? What's going on? Why'd you turn it off? And he's like, I'm okay. I've done this before with swamp rats. I can do it. And we hear Obi-Wan in the background. Luke, use the Force. Trust the Force. And Luke's like, what? Huh? What's going on? Who's talking to me? Remember all that?
Yeah.
So they're attacking, blah, 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 fighting. And he shoots the first. He shoots one and it doesn't go in. And he shoots the second one and it goes in. And he's like, we got to get out of here. Hurry. Before the place goes crazy. Like I said, he activates the torpedoes and he gets away. And you see as he's barely getting away from the distance away, the thing explodes. And I forgot to mention that we saw Han Solo come back and fight off Darth Vader so that Luke had free access to, launch his torpedoes. So him and Han Solo are flying away as the Death Star explodes in the background.
Yep.
And
saves the day again.
He saves the day again. We thought he was a scoundrelly rascal that was going to leave and not help. And he came back. And that leads us, after the Death Star explodes, that leads us to our final scene where there is a big ceremony. It looks like almost a wedding. There's left and right side, and then we look up there, and on the stage is Han, Luke, Chewbacca, the R2-D2, C-3PO, and Princess Leia. And it's a medal presentation ceremony, and she's giving them medals, putting them over their neck, and we see her put one on Han Solo and one on Luke, and trumpets and whatever, blah 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 blah. And it's basically the end of the movie. Smiling and cheering happens, and they're celebrating. We get this.
That happened in another movie too.
It did. We get this soundtrack while they're doing the medals. So that's the end of the movie. We get the credits, and we're like, wow, that was like the craziest movie I've ever seen. Nothing like it before.
Nope.
At least that's what I thought when I first saw it back in 1978 or whatever it was. I saw it. Because like I said, there was Star Trek was on TV, but it wasn't even anything close to this, right? It was nothing at all, right?
No, it was like tacky.
Yeah, really, really bad special effects and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about the movie. I've got some extra stuff here that I found. You were talking about the music. There's several themes for people. There's a theme for Princess Leia. We've got the Darth Vader theme that's also in there. So there's also a clip that you can see in the extras where they talk about all the fighting and stuff with the fighters was digital representations of it. And George Lucas had a hard time with the people at ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, recreating that. So he would take old World War II and other old movies around that showed dogfights, and he spliced them all together and gave it to the crew at ILM and says, "This is what I'm looking for. I want you to do this, but with the TIE fighters and the X-wings and all that stuff, and um, make it look good and all this. And there was all kinds of delays with the production and everything like that. And it was originally set to release in 1976 around Christmas, and they had to push it off until the right before summer of 1977, um, because of all the delays with production and post production stuff. Inspiration, like we talked about that already. Merchandise. So this was an interesting thing about George Lucas too, is he made a deal with what was it, Universal Studios, I think, to make the movie and pay for the movie, but he wanted all the rights to the merchandise.
Yep.
And they were good with that because they didn't think merchandise was going to be a big seller.
Was this a Hasbro thing again?
Yeah. Well, no. Kenner Toys was the first.
Okay.
Was the first to do any type of dolls or whatever you want to call them. Action figures is what they call them.
Action.
They did 20th Century Fox is who it was. Okay, so 20th Century Fox gave little support for marketing beyond licensing T-shirts and posters. So Lucas created his own company or his own offshoot, and they marketed and did all the merchandising themselves. They made deals with Stan Lee and Marvel Comics to do adaptations in Marvel with Marvel. And like I said, Kenner Toys made several of them, and they were so unprepared because they didn't think it was going to sell a lot either. That the movie came out in like I said, May 25th, and Kenner Toys would have these boxes on the shelves, but inside was a certificate saying that you'll get your toy later.
Mm-hmm.
And there was hundreds and millions of people who bought these boxes, these empty boxes, and gave them to their kids for Christmas. And there, like I said, there was a voucher in there to redeem it for a toy future, and the toy didn't come out until March of 1978. So almost a year after the movie came out, the toys came out. Even though people had bought these empty boxes and promised, to have the toy, which nowadays would be a pre-release purchase or whatever.
Yep.
We do that with almost everything now. Our phones and everything, we purchase it before it's even on the market nowadays, if you want to, that is. There was a radio drama adaptation of Star Wars. It was broadcast on public radio in 1981. I don't remember that at all, but that was a weird time for me. John Williams did the music. Ben Burt did most of the sound effects, or managed who did the sound effects. We didn't really mention it, but Anthony Daniels was actually inside the C-3PO costume. We talked about re-releases, home video, reception. When it was released on May 25th of 1977, it was only released in 32 theaters. But it proceeded to break all the records for all those box offices that had it. And the first weekend it earned over $6 million, like we talked about before. All right, so you'll see in
That was
those
big
extras
money.
also, Scott, that there's several deleted scenes, and one of the deleted scenes, Aunt Beru goes to the kitchen and gets some blue milk, but we don't see that. We don't. I think we see him at the table drinking it at some point,
Yeah.
but she goes and fills up a jug with blue milk. Um, and then there's another scene in the desert that was cut out where Luke is, working on some of the moisture evaporator equipment, and he sees up in the sky some sort of battle up in the sky, and he gets out his binoculars and looks up there and can see things. And he goes to his friends who are at the Toshi station, and we actually see this Biggs guy in this scene first before we see him later on when they go get ready to go to the kill the Death Star thing. We actually see this Biggs guy, and his name is Biggs Darklighter is the guy's name. And there's several other people there. Also, there's a female there. There's a guy named Deke, Wendy, Cammy, and Fixer is the names of the people. Yeah, so it's funny too. If you watch the scene, he gets excited and he's got his little speeder there with him or whatever, and he's looking up and he's like, "Oh my gosh, he's got to go tell somebody about it." And he's got one of those robots there that's working on the evaporator stuff. Just a weird looking robot thing, not anything that we would care about. And the robot sees him leaving and is like, "Okay, let me come with you." And it starts to come with him, and Luke's in such a hurry. He's like, "Oh, forget it. He's too slow." And the robot burns up his motor trying to get over to Luke, and catches fire basically, which is actually interesting and funny. Um, and there's another scene with Luke and Biggs, and they're talking about. Biggs mentions that he is going to. He doesn't want to go to the Imperial Academy. He wants to escape and join the Rebel Alliance. And there's a conversation between Luke and Biggs about the Rebel Alliance that we don't see. This is a deleted scene. And it's a whole backstory about because that Toshi Station is in a town called Anchorhead. There's a bunch of other cut scenes. There's actually that search that they were looking for R2D2. There's a whole scene there that's cut out that's related to that too. And there's a couple other. There's a scene where stormtroopers are walking around Mos Eisley, and such. So there's some interesting stuff in the deleted scenes and the extras on there. So I suggest you look at them. It took me almost as long to watch all of the deleted and extra scenes and extra, this is that and whatever. And you actually have a thing where they talk about the different artwork that they used in the movie, or the different costumes, or different things. There was a controversy for a while with some of the action figures where uh, the clothing that Han Solo wore underneath his jacket, it was supposedly a brown kind of clothing color, but there was some of the action figures that actually showed it blue because they couldn't tell from the movie very well, I guess, or whatever. And so some of the action figures made um, of Han Solo were incorrect on the coloring and stuff of different things. But anyway, You got any comments, Scott, before you fall asleep again?
No.
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 It's quite a bit there, and that's like I said, it's the first one, so it's the start of the era, right?
Yeah. It was amazing for that time.
It still is. You know, even if you rewatch it now, I think it still holds up.
Oh yeah.
Nowadays,
It holds
it's
up.
It's not one of those movies that you watch. You know, like a good example, and this is not science fiction related, but if you go rewatch a movie called Mrs. Doubtfire,
yeah,
look at that movie and you're like, oh my god, why did I watch that? That doesn't even. It's no good anymore, right? But it's a classic Robin Williams movie, right?
Oh yeah.
But if you go and rewatch Star Wars, you're like, oh my gosh, that's just as good as it was before. And I saw so many more things that I didn't see the first time.
Yeah.
Or the last time I watched it. It's a great movie, and
you always can usually find something you didn't notice the first time or first 20 times.
Exactly. My wife gets frustrated. She's like, "Are you watching that movie again?"
Why do I hear that damn droid?
I tell her, I said, when I need a pick me up, I'll watch a Star Wars movie. Makes me happier.
Woohoo!
Or I'll start rewatching one of the animated series or whatever. But
yeah.
Now we've got The Mandalorian and Boba Fett to rewatch too.
Yeah. So what are we going to do Friday, Kyle?
So Friday, we're gonna do this live streaming again, but we're gonna watch 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. First 2 episodes. Dun dun dun. Yeah, it comes on the 27th is the official release date, and we're gonna do a watch party basically.
And we're not gonna be separated by the miles.
That's right. We'll be in the same room. You'll get to look at all these bobbleheads yourself in person.
You better count
them. I have pictures of every single one of them, so I know exactly how many I
have. For insurance purposes.
No, so I don't buy duplicates.
You got duplicates. I swear you do.
No, all the numbers are different. If you look at the numbers in the corner, they're all different.
Babies. Oh, you're a true collector.
They're all different. Whatever.
Yeah,
anyway,
Miss Zoe over here doesn't care.
You get to see the room, and
mm-hmm.
you can play with my lightsabers I've got. All that fun stuff.
Woo-hoo.
So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing on Friday, and we're actually going to likely do it in the afternoon. I don't know what time. We'll just kind of play it by ear, I think, Scott. But it just depends on when you get around and get over here, I guess. And I don't really care when it is that you want to come over. I mentioned lunch, but if you can't make it by that time, that's fine too. It doesn't matter to me. So,
well, we're letting Colton not go to school that day, so I can come home and clean up and come back over. So yeah. Hey, where'd you go?
Oh, sorry. I had to scratch my head, and I didn't want to show it on the video. All right.
Crazy.
Let me play the outro. Thank you for listening to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR KyleJohansson.us. That's RABR.KAILEJOHANSEN side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at rabr.kailejohansen.us. This podcast in no way is approved, sponsored, or owned by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. All opinions are solely owned by Kyle and or Scott, and in no way express the views or opinions of their past or present employers. Views and opinions are not supported or restricted by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this podcast and its affiliate sites without consent of Super Duper Podcast Network and its host is prohibited. I am Kyle Johansen, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say goodbye now.
Goodbye now.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Your exits are here, and here.
Exactly. Let me stop the live stream first.
There's about 5 or 10 seconds delay.
Of course there's a 5 or 10 second delay, honey.
5.
Oh, she's bitching.
I'm gonna turn off the recording.